Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Pipeline Industry Guild webinar this afternoon, which is entitled, as you can see on the screen, Let Your Strategy Steer Your Business in Uncertain Times, which is certainly something that we can all relate to. And we're focusing on the Ant-Hire Solutions case study, really. My name is Jane Nugent, and I'm the part-time marketing director at Ant-Hire Solutions. And I'm joined today to talk through this story with my couple of colleagues. Oops, if my presentation will go forward. So Tony Kitchen, who is head of pipeline pressure testing at Ant-Hire Solutions, he's probably known to quite a few of you on the webinar as as you can see here. I'm not going to read out his biography, but he is a UK expert on pipeline pressure testing and well known in the industry, as well as being the part-time marketing director of Ant-Hire Solutions. I do that through an organisation called the Marketing Centre, and I'm a part-time marketing director with some other SME businesses as well. And I'm also joined by my colleague Warwick Hampton-Woodfall, who does a similar part-time director role with another part of the organisation that we both belong to, Liberti Group. And Warwick specialises in being a part-time IT director. And some of what we're talking about today is relevant to that. So I just wanted to, before we start, just give you a little bit of explanation about who the Liberti Group is and how we got involved. I got involved with the Ant-Hire Solutions. We're basically a team of experts in our fields across marketing, sales, finance, IT, HR, and legal, and we all work on a part-time basis with SMEs in the UK and internationally as well, and bring all our knowledge and expertise that we've acquired through our corporate careers and use that with the SMEs we're working with. Primarily, we're always there to drive growth. And we have a deep knowledge of our specialist areas, but also we often have particular sector expertise. I spent quite a bit of my career more recently in the construction world. And what we're doing now particularly is, given the challenging times that we're in, is working with organisations, help them recover, stabilise, evolve, reinvent themselves, as it is a phrase now, pivot your business to respond to the world that you're in now. And ultimately it's all about thriving. We're all about success and helping businesses get there and helping them do that through a clear strategy. And that's the thing we're going to be focusing on today with the story from Ant-Hire Solutions. And just to let you know, we have a lot of other experts across the Liberti Group who've also got experience in the pipeline world, and just some of them here again from lawyers and HR and finance people. So we've got quite a lot of expertise in the world that we're talking to, and the pipeline industries, etc. So as it says there, we are very much hands-on professionals. We're not consultants. We go in, we're part of the team, and that's really a key part of the story that we've had with Ant-Hire Solutions. I have been very much part of the team there, working with everybody on 2 days a week for quite some time. But I'll pass on to Tony now and let him give you a bit of background about our story at Ant-Hire Solutions and how we've developed our strategy and how we're really proud of how we've taken that forward. So Tony, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Jane. So allow me to introduce myself. My name's Tony Kitchen, and I'm the head of pressure testing and flow control at Ant-Hire Solutions. And for the benefit of those who aren't aware, Ant-Hire Solutions are a specialist hire company providing services and equipment to companies working predominantly in the water industry. And as Jane says earlier, collectively we boast in excess of 200 years experience in this field, and I personally have contributed 30 years of my life to that. We are recognised as the innovative company and long been seen as the go-to people for providing solutions to challenges that are often faced on site and within the water industry. Many of which we brought to the market as industry leading firsts, Of those what have been successful, have been mainly focused on improving safety, efficiency, and particularly around managing flows and carrying out pipeline pressure tests. Next slide, please, Jane. But by trying to be everything to everybody, we began to gain a bit of an identity crisis. We became stretched as a business, focusing entirely on the product and less so on the message. It was often referred to as the best kept secret because no one knew what we did or even who we were, because our marketing function had completely broken down. So in 2018, our managing director, Adrian Thompson, engaged with the marketing centre, and shortly after speaking with them, we brought Jane Nugent in as our part-time marketing director. Their work began immediately with the senior management team, which now included Jane, where we began to build a clear business strategy. So we needed to ask, what was our proposition? What was we really good at? And along came the questions of what are we going to keep on doing, but what are we going to stop doing? Most importantly, who was our customer and how was we going to engage with them? Next slide, please, Jane.
Okay. So thanks, Tony, for that introduction. We'll come back to Tony later and talk about, you know, some of the questions that we did. So as Tony said, you know, 2 years we've been working as a team to really clarify the positioning for ant-hire solutions. And it was clear, as Tony said, they were very busy doing lots of activities, some of which took a lot of effort but didn't necessarily bring a huge amount of financial success or profile to the business. So we decided that we would focus on what we identified were our real areas of expertise. And these aren't things that, you know, we thought we were good at. We actually really are very good at. That was pressure testing, where we've got some very innovative solutions. Safety runs through everything that we're involved in, not just the safety of our own employees, but the safety of the contractors that we're working with, and then safety of the services that we're providing, and aiming to make those best in industry. Very much working as a partners, in a partnership, not just, you know, hiring equipment and leaving it at that, but really working with people to make sure that our service and that we're innovating the products and the services constantly to keep those partnerships strong and help our partner businesses be as successful as possible too. And as Tony said, we simplified our offerings and our services. We stopped doing quite a few things. We sold off an area of the business, and by doing less, that meant we could do the remaining services even better. So we became more efficient and effective because we were focusing everybody's energies, not just the marketing effort, but the whole production and operational areas and the customer service on fewer services, really. And it made it much easier from a marketing perspective because we had a simpler story to tell. It was really complicated at first. When I first went in, I think I spent a whole week just trying to make sense of it all, and then it started to slot into place. And also it makes it if your story is simpler, it's a lot easier to explain to everybody who works in the business as well. They could see that it made sense, even though it meant we were, you know, shutting down some things and closing some things, that we were putting our energies into the activities that we were excellent at and where there was opportunity in the market as well. So once we'd done that, it was obviously, as Tony said, you know, being the best kept secret was fine, but that wasn't what was the goal of the business. And critical then became the marketing and investing in that so that we strengthened our brand. And again, as Tony mentioned, there had been marketing going on for some time, but in a what I would call a bit of a random way. There wasn't any great strategy behind it. So we were able to really focus on our brand. We redesigned it. We invested in a new website. We started doing social media, which helped build our profile, got us into contact with new people. put a CRM in place, a customer relationship management system, which a lot of businesses don't have, but are really critical nowadays to have a good CRM where you can keep all your customer and your prospect information so you can communicate with them. And we started developing industry best practice guidelines that we could share with people. So we had that expertise there, and we didn't just want to keep it to ourselves. We wanted to put it out there and help drive the industry forward. And ultimately, whenever you're doing marketing, you have to monitor the results that you're getting. So putting measures and activity in place. So we knew if we were spending money and investing in marketing, what return were we getting from that? And again, as Tony mentioned, who did we really want to work with? So one of the key things is always looking at the customers that you've got. Lots of organizations put a lot of effort into lead generation, finding new customers, which is great, and you need that to grow your business. One of the other things that sometimes gets neglected is looking after the customers that you've already got. Do you really understand them? What are they buying from you? How has their buying habits changed over time? Are you cross-selling your services to them? Do you know more than, do you only know Fred or Betty in the organization? And if you do, if Fred and Betty leaves, then it can be in a bit of a challenge. So strengthening not just the relationship, but the depth of relationship. So you've got contacts with more than one person and multiple people in an organization, because there'll be people who can make use of your services outside of maybe some of the areas that you've known about. So we worked hard on that. We also wanted to work with organizations who were good to work with, who shared our values, who were also committed to safety. So looking at who those are, and we actually, for some of the organizations we started to target, we looked at their website and we looked at what their value statements were and see, was there an alignment there? Because if there was, then that was a great starting point for building a relationship and hopefully turning them into customers. And that led on to the relationships and the partnerships and how we strengthen them. So we set ourselves what was quite an ambitious goal of developing a number of framework agreements in this financial year, and which everybody thought was quite an ambitious thing to do, because Untitled Solutions hadn't had a framework agreement before. And we set out, we put a strategy and a plan in place to do that. And Tony worked really hard with his contacts in the businesses that we were working with, and using the expertise and the great relationships he's already got with people, we've succeeded in bringing some of those framework agreements in place, which is a fantastic result, really. And hopefully there'll be more down the line as well. Pressure testing is a key area of expertise for Untitled Solutions, and Tony, as I said, is one of the UK's leading experts in it. So we'd already developed a market leading approach, a data-led approach which gave customers great information on their performance, not just in terms of the test, but its efficiency, its effectiveness, its safety, so that they can monitor how things are doing and do them to the very best standard. And so it's all about safety data analysis, saving time and allowing people to do their pressure testing as effective as possible and benchmark their performance against other people in the industry, because they may think they're doing a great job, but other people may be doing it better. So giving them that information that can help them drive their own performance. We've also invested in the safe sewer isolation solution, and we've been working with Thames Water on that. Again, another great partnership and relationship. And that's taken 18 months of innovation and demonstrating and quantifying the superior safety aspects of our solution, working with them and getting to the point where we know we've got something we can really share with the marketplace and be proud of. So overall, all of that work really manifested itself in becoming much more confident in what we do, and the fact that we really do have industry leading solutions. And as Tony just mentioned before, I don't think we are, hopefully no longer, one of the world's best kept secrets. We're out there sharing it with people, and that's demonstrated in the way that we've been able to take. So it was all going marvelously, great guns, fabulous. I'm really pleased with how we were progressing. And then the coronavirus came along, and as I'm sure everybody on this call is very aware of, it had a really swift impact on the construction sector. Things were shut down immediately, and we had to make some very swift decisions about that, because it was obvious that things were going to be difficult for some time. So, you know, team members were furloughed, we reviewed expenditure, we put some projects on hold, really, you know, quite difficult decisions to be made, but the right decisions to be made. But we made those decisions with a clear understanding of what our strategy was and where our key areas of strengths were, and that we needed to maintain our resources and our focus on those. So pressure testing stayed front of mind. Safety was never compromised in any way. Even if we had people on furlough, it was still a #1 priority for making sure that our equipment was of the highest standard, and we were supporting our customers to do their activities safely too. We've kept our focus on the pipeline flow control and providing really great support and service to our customers, and, you know, understanding their challenges and how we could work with them to help them get through this challenging time too. We continued to keep the investment, even though we cut back in some areas. We've kept investing in the pipeline pressure testing and improving the dashboard and getting that out there. That, you know, is a constant thing. We'd gone too far to not keep that going. And we've invested in our marketing behind that. We've done search engine optimization on the website, which is when you look at the keywords people are searching on, and we kept that investment going, and that has helped improve our Google rankings for the search for all the searches around pressure testing over recent months, which is great because we kept going when other people stopped. And that's another thing with marketing. You know, the recessions and shutdowns and challenging times are not only a challenge, but they're a great opportunity. And the organizations that keep going with their marketing in a very targeted way can really drive themselves forward. So when the market starts to come back, they're in a stronger position than their competitors. It can give you a competitive edge. We had to further streamline our business and our operations, making it even more efficient. So we brought in incoming coal monitoring. We've used technology to automate aspects of the pipeline pressure testing reporting. We've brought in more lean approaches to the workshop processes without impacting any aspect of the safety or the service. And we've obviously removed to much more remote support. I think Tony said the other day he'd only been out, I think, out on site twice in the last 6 months, doing everything remotely. So still supporting people, but adapting to the way that the world is now operating, and making sure that we keep our employees safe, but obviously also people out on site as well. And we've kept building those relationships so that we remain front of mind. And even if people aren't as busy as they used to be, when that work comes back, we want to be the partner that they choose to work with. And one of our customers completely restructured, one of our major customers completely restructured their operation in response to the coronavirus and the challenges to the industry. So we've had to stick close to them, understand how that works, and adapt the way that we work and the relationships that we've got with people. And if we hadn't kept that relationship going, we wouldn't have known that. We could have been caught out with a bit of surprise. We'll be investing in our LAMPI isolation device, and we are launching that this month. It's a unique approach to safe sewer isolation that we've worked with Thames Water on. So we've kept that going as well. And I think that'll be a great innovation for the marketplace. So fundamentally, we've kept faith in what we do and what we know we do well. And despite all the challenges and the changes for us and the industry, that focus on our strategy and our core positioning and what we're all about hasn't wavered. And it's actually helped the organization make good decisions, I think, through this process, that we haven't panicked, we haven't made random decisions and done things that would harm the business in the long term. It's allowed us to really focus on where we are. And so, you know, despite everything, we're confident that we're really well positioned for future growth. And as the market starts to come back, we're clear about what we do and why we're there. So just to summarize a few things that could be of help to everybody to, you know, from our learnings, from our experience. Strategy is really critical. Having a clear strategy, doesn't matter if it's your marketing strategy, your IT strategy, your people strategy. If you haven't got a strategy, you haven't got anything to focus on. As I say here, it's a blueprint. It's almost, I also sometimes visualize it almost like a totem pole that is visible to everybody. It's really clearly defined and everybody understands it. And it's your reference point that everything comes back to. So whatever you're doing, you've got something to refer to. And does that still support our strategy? Or do we need to review our strategy in the light of what's happened around us? You know, don't stick with it if it's not fit for purpose anymore. Having that clear focus and purpose. What is your why? Why are you out there? What do you do for people? What is your proposition? And can you articulate that clearly and share that with people? And does it make sense? And is it something that they're interested in? If you've got that, it's really easy to communicate with people and tell them what you do and why you're great at what you do, and you know, help drive your business forward on that basis. And relationships really, really matter. In times of challenge, they matter even more. As I say, not just with prospects, but your current customers. Opportunity to build new ones while other people might have their eye off the ball. As I say, you know, challenges create opportunities as well. Being resilient and agile, working, changing, adapting, making sure you're not standing still is really critical. So, you know, monitor what you're doing, what's happening in the marketplace, review how you're operating, learn from that, and continue to innovate. The world is a different place from where we were. How do you respond to that? How do you help your customers respond to that? And don't assume what you've done in the past will work in the future, because we are very much in a very different place to where we were before. So just some thoughts that everybody can take on board and see if you feel as though you've, you know, been through that journey that we've been through. And these are some of the things that have really helped us go forward. So what I wanted to do now is just bring my colleague Warwick Hampton-Woodfall into the conversation. And one of the things that Warwick and I have talked about in the past is this whole focus on strategy and how important it is. And, you know, there's a great link nowadays between marketing and your IT strategy. You know, marketing is becoming an increasingly technology-led function. And I think when you look at some of the work that we've done at Ant-Hire Solutions, we couldn't get that specialism that we've got without the great technology support. We've got a great IT head of IT in the business who has developed the systems and the data and the dashboards and driven all of that forward. And again, that was shaped by having a clear strategy. So we've been working very closely together on that. So Warwick, your view on I know you've worked with a lot of businesses in the pipeline industry, and how critical it is to have a clear technology strategy, because, you know, as you and I have talked about, it's an industry where data and information is going to become more critical going forward.
Indeed, it's key. One of the things, certainly at the strategic level, your supply chain and how you're recording handoffs and interactions with your supply chain, when things like COVID hit, where 2/3 of your supply chain might be actually fine because maybe they're people based or they're people and resource and time based. But if any of your supply chain is based around equipment, resources, like, I don't know, if your concrete, for example, has suffered really badly in terms of the supply. So having a technology based supply chain management tool can allow you then to have your alternate supply chain and your alternate suppliers all ready to go. You can warn them, you can forward order, you can cancel future orders, And the only real way is to have this automated approach. Otherwise, you're constantly asking the question, can they still send us concrete? Do they still have those pipes available for us to get? Can they get a van? So that in terms of COVID, the immediate challenges that certainly the companies that I'm dealing with, one a water services company, the very, very long lead time for projects, the very slow speed at which the water industry functions, hasn't really impacted their long-term view, but it certainly has impacted the view on, if they've got to go out and service a bit of kit, and they need parts for that bit of kit. It's really difficult. For the other company to look after, who are considerably bigger, in terms of their strategy, ensuring that that rent is covered, that leases are strong, that they have COVID tracking and tracing in their larger offices, that all of that is happening, has meant that they've needed to have a strong communications platform within the business. So the fact that some time ago we decided our strategy was to move towards Office 365 and Teams meant it's very easy to communicate with the entire business now, and for the entire business to respond. And that's the key thing, is that it's easy to send out a notification, look at this web page on the intranet, but it's that interaction, that response, that is now so important, and that each of those interactions are sort of meaningful. So you can chat, you can email, you can post or comment, and that's been the biggest benefit from having an IT strategy, certainly for Hydrock, was that we were actually able to respond quickly because we put the strategy in place.
I think, Tony, from the work that we've done at Untitled Solutions in investing in the technology, I think some of that is probably even more relevant now that people are having to work remotely and not on site. Like say that, Teams meetings and remote support for people are just how it is now, isn't it?
Yeah, just the sheer nature of getting on site now is a challenge in itself. So, and I'm sure that a frustration to site managers as well. So if we can overcome that by being able to communicate with them in different ways, then obviously it's less work and less impact on them.
Yeah. The other thing that's interesting about industries within the construction sector, or the AEC, is that we've got our own offices, and then we've got the phrase on site, and they're two completely different worlds, and we operate within those worlds. So again, with Hydrock, who are consulting engineers, so we'll have geotechnical engineers going onto site with water companies, going onto site with home builders, going onto site, anywhere that there is, geotechnical or any of the kind of those services required. COVID had two different responses. This site is closed. This site is open with significant restrictions, and those significant restrictions meant that we had to equip our team with the device that they needed to be able to communicate back, and also the software on sitting on that device that allowed them to, if they were going to drawings, or they were going to take reports or calc sheets or whatever, they'll just work, because otherwise they're back in the office and that site is closed.
Yeah, and I think that's and that's not going to change, is it, going forward? Tony, we're not suddenly going to be out on site every day like we were in the past. People are going to expect to work in a different way, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, because like I say, like the people on site still need to work. They're going to be within their bubble. They don't want their bubble to be exposed. So potentially someone going on site could then, in essence, someone could contract COVID as a result of it. So by being able to support the customers remotely, I think is absolute.
Yeah, and making sure, again, we've talked about innovation and how important data is, and the construction and the pipeline industries are going to have to use more, machine learning, artificial intelligence, all the things that get talked about on a regular basis in in the world, but that's sort of been accelerated forward because
it's terrifying when somebody in marketing says the words machine learning and artificial intelligence in the same sentence, because that used to mean more work for me.
All right.
Now it doesn't. It means I've got to explain to somebody why their machine can't learn and why there is no such thing as artificial intelligence. But your point is absolutely well made. The tools out there now are all about access to the data and then gaining insight from those data, and those insights are your industry specific insights. So your dashboard that you generated yourself is probably far more useful to you as a company than having a dashboard template put on you, which you then edit to kind of make your way. So your points earlier on about, you know, digging in and looking at your pipe solution and having a dashboard for customers for that, it is a really, really, really smart use of technology.
And we're really thankful for it, because I mean, no one was, you know, no one could have predicted what was about to happen. But with that clear strategy, you know, so that we were driving, you know, where we could manage people on site without the need to go on site in almost real time, audit their performance and allow them to be able to measure them themselves. I think that's going to be, it's going to be so important going forward. But like I say, you know, no one predicted it, but we just kept on focus.
Yeah, and that dashboard, you know, picking up Warwick's point, we've adapted it, haven't we, for particular customers to make it easier for them. You know, because the last thing you want is to get some information and you've got, I don't know, 5 different suppliers doing different things or 5 different contractors doing stuff, and then someone's got to take all the information off all of those reports and put them into a central one where you can start to see how the company is performing overall. So I think those relationships, not just between the, you know, the supplier and the contractor, but with other partners in that, almost that supply chain, are going to become more important as well. You know, working on those liaisons.
Yeah, we've already begun with that, Jane. As you know, we've begun to work with partners who are providing a similar service. So we could share or host each other's data again. So more information could be collated on each dashboard.
Is that something that other people are looking at, Warwick, in terms of, you know, not just only seeing their data, but actually building what I'd call data alliances almost to help give a more complete picture? So, you know, for the ultimate customer, they have everything in one place and they're relying on their suppliers to work together to do that for them. Oops, can't hear you. Oh, you've gone. No, you're still on mute. Come back. Oh, yeah, you're supposed to be able to hear you. Oh dear. Oh, there you are. Come back.
Okay, yeah. So what you're talking about there is a relatively new concept that's out there. It's called data warehousing.
Yeah.
And conceptually, you pull in all of the different data sources into one location, and then you carry out dashboarding on that combined data set. And one of the things that you can be sort of drawn into in terms of like Magpie's bright shiny thing, you know, we can have a little chart that tells a little dashboard here and a little dashboard there that tells us this, and another one that tells us that. If you embark on creating a dashboard that has multiple different sources, any one of those multiple different sources changes and your dashboard then changes. So the key thing about dashboarding is to generate KPIs, OPIs, as in operational performance indicators, and different calculations against those KPIs and OPIs that are unique to your business. You develop those within the framework of a data warehouse, and then regardless of the tool, the system, the application, or the company that you do business with, the data that you collect from them in terms of performance for the company is always the same. So that you develop your data warehouse, you create these little data marts, be they customer performance, be they impact on a survey, be they any of the data that is specific to your business, but you make your own. And there are lots of tools out there that will do that for you. Power BI is the one that is most popularly used because it comes with Office 365. There are a whole host of other tools like DataBox and various other applications that do a similar sort of thing. And you can connect your marketing, your HR, your finance, your IT, and then more importantly, for us, your project accounting, for your project management, for your supply chain.
Yeah.
And it allows each of the senior members of the business to go around the table and actually look at the dashboard and say, well, here's our performance indicators. We only need to talk about the things that are in red or the things that are in amber. We don't need to talk about the things that are in green. So your management of your company is a lot more effective in the boardroom because you're not arguing about numbers. Everybody agrees the numbers because it's in one place.
Okay. I'm just conscious that we're coming towards the end of things. So I don't know if anybody who's on the webinar has got any questions they would like to ask. There's a chat function on the webinar. You can ask any questions if you want. If we don't have time to answer them, we will get back to people afterwards. But if there's anything that you'd want to raise or any thoughts or comments even, like, goodness, that was entertaining, would be helpful, do let us know. But so yeah, that's just opening it up to everybody for your questions, really, if anybody's got any.
As there aren't any questions, let me posit a leading question that if anybody has any, says that's yes, that's something that happened to us. Did you all have issues with your VPNs? Did you all have issues with connectivity back to base and drawings?
I don't know.
I guess that's a no.
That's a no then. They're all very, very
Everybody
well organised and completely sorted, which is a fabulous. Oh, someone said something.
Someone said, thanks, Nick.
Yeah. No. Oh, good. That's fine. Good. He's a friend of Nick well, don't you, Tony?
Yeah, we do. I think everybody in the industry knows Nick well.
Okay, right. Thank you very much. So we've got 2 minutes left, I think. What I'll do is just, again, if you want to keep asking questions, throw them up and we'll pick them up. But otherwise, I think the webinar is going to be made available on the private. But what we just want to end on is, we've talked about a lot of things today. We've used the Ant-Hire solutions as a case study to how having a great strategy and a great sense of your purpose can really help your business in good times or in bad times. And we do have, as I say, a number of experts across the Liberti Group who've worked with pipeline related industries. We're offering anybody who is interested, or you might have more questions or something you want to discuss, or you'd like a bit of advice, there's a free 40 minutes, no obligation consultation. The contact details are here. Just do that. You can choose who you want to talk to, or if you're not sure, we'll find you the right person who can help you with your challenge, really. But that's an offer to follow up on this conversation, really. Sorry. All right.
There's a question in from Harry, which is Harry Catherall. Thank you, Harry. Which is, what level of maturity would you say there is in the water sector for use of smart connectivity? And I guess that's a really good question, especially as the Internet of Things has exploded in the last few years. The level of maturity, specifically, if we're talking about innovation and a maturity index, which we probably are, because this is a technology that absolutely fits within an innovation cycle. We're currently in an inflated hype maturity at the moment, where there are lots of people making really good use of smart connectivity. In the water sector, my understanding is it's extremely low. There's actually very low use, certainly within the water services companies, in a widespread sense. So we're talking about the general water supply, etc. But there is smart connectivity in all new installations. Certainly, most new installations, and it mostly is around metering, and it mostly is around flow control, certainly within pipes. The maturity is often a reflection of the speed in which contracts change, and so my guess is within the water sector, some of the framework agreements would need to include joint funding for new technologies, and as soon as you say funding, that's where it all grinds to a halt. I don't know, Tony, what's your feeling, because you've done it, so you're far more experienced.
Yeah, I think the more engaging now, because I think it's been driven by the pressure from the regulations. So we've got to be now, like every water company has got to find a way of managing and measuring their water better. So I think now that they're really more engaging today than what there was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and there's so much focus, isn't there, on the whole issue of leakage, and there's going to be water shortages at some point. I live in the northwest. It's ever hard to believe you're never going to have enough water, but I know down in East Anglia they say it's not going to be, you know, that long till there will be not enough water to support everybody. So I think sometimes, yeah, an other imperatives will drive people down that route, I think, not necessarily because they see the benefit of it, but because they almost have no choice, which is a good thing, because, you know, we've got to save our water. We need the climate's changing, just to add to all the other challenges that we have in the industry and in the world as a whole. I'm conscious now. Oh, sorry, go on. Sorry.
I was going to say, if we're in the business of supplying to the water companies, and the water companies have a low maturity and a very slow adoption rate for technologies that are going to help with challenges around water security, around provision, etc., then I think for those companies who really want to succeed and grow, you bring the connectivity with you, you bring the smart solutions, you bring all of the actual in the background, how you're collecting these data, then how you're presenting these data to give the answers that the water companies need. And we've all been servicing the water companies for long enough, and oil and gas, etc., to understand that they move at a different rate. And I think Harry's idea, which is a common platform across water companies, most definitely. But I don't know, Harry, across the pipeline industry guild sounds like a fantastic idea. Who would fund it is the thing, these common platforms, because again, if you go and ask the water companies, they'll give you an answer back, you know, the next time the AMP has done its next cycle.
Well, I think we're just getting in. Probably could talk about this for a long time, but we were set a particular time and we've run over by a couple of minutes. So if there are other questions on the feed, we'll pick them up and we'll get back to people on those. But I just wanted to say to everybody a huge thank you. Thank you for the Pipeline Industry Guild for hosting this today. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to Tony and to Warwick for their contribution. I hope you found it interesting. If you've got any queries or questions, please direct them to any of us, and hopefully we'll be able to, you know, continue to help the world get to be a better place, and tackle all the challenges that we're facing. So fantastic. Thanks for your input and your interest, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.